This SpaceX launch almost didn't happen. Minutes before, the government told SpaceX the launch would violate your license.
Faster and faster, Starship's picking up speed here.
But SpaceX launched anyway. SpaceX got away with it. And later, the government actually bragged about relaxing rules.
The Federal Aviation Administration is making one giant leap for paperwork relief.
Relief? No. Just a few months later.
Hold.
They halted another launch because an aircraft was in the keep out zone. But is that even a reasonable rule? Elon Musk, who runs SpaceX, called that zone unreasonably gigantic. He tweeted, "The regulatory system is broken, and there's simply no way humanity can become a spacefaring civilization without reform."
Regulations are immortal. They never die unless somebody actually goes and kills them.
Musk also broke rules to make Tesla the huge success it is. He supports regulation, he says, but government goes too far.
It can overregulate industries to the point where innovation becomes very difficult. The body of regulation for cars could fill this room.
It is both kind of funny, but also kind of scary that he doesn't understand regulation.
The media missed the point, as usual. Musk understands regulations. He just knows he cannot innovate if he obeys all of them. He flaunts his breaking SEC rules, once tweeting, "SEC stands for Suck Elon's."
Elon knows how to mix it up with regulators. I got to hand it to him.
Adam Thierer writes about evasive entrepreneurs and their innovations. But a less successful entrepreneur might be crushed for doing something like that.
That's exactly right. Think about the story of 23andMe.
Discover your DNA.
When they came out with genetic testing by mail,
They didn't go and get a permission slip from the Food and Drug Administration to do it. They just started providing that service.
after the FDA notice, they ordered 23andMe.
Stop altogether. Take the product off the market. And 23andMe was off the market for more than a year. More importantly, the rest of the genetic testing by mail market kind of dried up because the smaller players saw what the government did and said, well, I don't want that to happen to me.
Maybe the only way to succeed today is to break the rules.
The only way to go out and do something new is to just try doing it.
She uses a digital system called Night Scout.
Night Scout did that.
Her son has type 1 diabetes.
Night Scout was created by parents whose children have diabetes.
Their hashtag is #WeAreNotWaiting. What are they not waiting for? They're not waiting for Food and Drug Administration to approve new insulin monitoring and delivery devices. Instead, they went out and started building them themselves. These devices were better than the professional regulatory approved devices. Do these dads belong in jail? I certainly hope not. Everywhere you look in America today, there are people pushing up against really crazy laws and regulations.
Like the volunteer engineers who've been using
desktop 3D printers to make prosthetic devices. They're providing a solution that the larger medical device companies have not been able to address.
I saw children go up to people who did this and say, can you make me an Iron Man hand or a Wolverine claw hand? And instantly on the spot, it was fabricated.
This time, the FDA let them.
I don't think the FDA wants to get the bad PR associated with stopping children from getting free new prosthetic hands if they need them.
But it only happened because they did it without permission.
These innovations come out of nowhere. The problem is law sometimes blocks all of that and says, thou shall not until you get a permission slip. And that's the death. That's the death of entrepreneurialism and innovation.
Electric scooter companies didn't ask for permission either. This is fast. They just put the scooters out for ride sharing without begging regulators first.
Electric-powered scooters, street legal.
Going around the regulators is also how we got the great ride-sharing services.
Uber and Lyft, they are like drug cartels. They are illegal.
Called illegal because some places, taxi companies and regulators had passed safety rules that pretty much made competition illegal. So Uber and Lyft never asked bureaucrats for approval. They just released their apps. And by the time these protests began, Uber and Lyft had so many happy customers that they could fight back when clueless politicians like New York's Mayor de Blasio moved to limit them.
They even recoded the Uber app overnight to offer a little option at the bottom of the slider that was called de Blasio mode. And when you slid over to it, there were no cars. They said, this is what will happen if Mayor de Blasio gets his way. And almost overnight, that political dynamic shifted.
Having a good one?
We have choices and we love them, and we're not going back.
Some people are now experimenting with drone-like hoverboards.
Things like drones and driverless cars This offers society enormous benefits that we don't want to forego because our regulators say, well, it doesn't fit into our regulatory playbook. Well, too bad. The playbook needs to change.
If he went down, likely he'd hit somebody, a lot of people there.
Obviously, John, there need to be some guidelines and even some rules about where people can do things like stand on a flying drone.
Some regulation is useful. The alternative isn't no rules. If a product is dangerous,
it can be recalled. You can be sued, but don't treat innovators as guilty until proven innocent.
it's easier to notice how absurd regulators could be if you look at old regulations.
The Walkman.
When the Walkman came out, one town in New Jersey banned wearing them in public.
You couldn't wear headphones because it may be a danger to yourself. Sometimes laws stop making sense because societies and technologies change. Governments need to adapt.
Making more hand sanitizer than moonshine.
Look at what happened post-COVID, right? After the lockdowns hit, all sorts of people started doing really interesting entrepreneurial things to try to just help each other out. And why was it illegal for a distillery or a brewery to offer their own hand sanitizer?
We could probably make and give away 1,000 gallons a day.
We also have deliveries of alcohol now and pick up cocktails to go.
Delivered in under 60 minutes.
The sky hasn't fallen. We heard for 100 years, we can't have that. The children will get them and get drunk. No, those laws needed to change, but only because people evaded the system and said the system's broken. Enough with it. The system changed.
Please share and like this video. That actually helps us and helps us make more. And if you want to directly help us make more, click that button.